Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a request that I do a hot take about Pence. What's he gonna do? Pence urges conservatives to stay in the fight as our election continues. But does he really mean it? That's a big question. I'll tell you this, Mike. I'll tell you this. You don't want this headline. Betrayal. Mitch McConnell, yep, they consider him a traitor now. I wouldn't hold out much hope that Mitch McConnell can get reelected in the distant future. Trump fans are not about the Republican Party, Mike Pence. I'm not a Republican. I'm a libertarian. I voted for Trump this second time around because I felt he had done a good job. Me and many independently minded people like me voted for Trump for that reason. And most of us believe the Democrats cheated. So if you think any of that happened, then you should totally fight for Trump. If you don't, there's no point in voting for you or Republicans. Who cares if they win Georgia? Doesn't matter. If they're willing to be cheated, if they're willing not to fight the Democrats tooth and nail as they fight, what's the point in voting for you? No one wants to vote for you then. Already, people in Georgia are kind of like, we got 50 guys in the Senate and Mike Pence, right? If Trump wins, so who cares about holding the Senate? They don't care because you guys pass this ridiculous stimulus bill anyway. And now we're trying to get Trump to veto that. He's already planning on vetoing the defense bill. I think he should veto the stimulus bill as well. I don't think he will. He might not even veto the military spending bill, but he said he would. So I'm leaning towards he'll probably do it because I don't think there's a good way out of that. You know, but someone in Washington has to help him, Mike. And if not you, then who? I mean, do you really think any Trump supporter will ever vote for you once once this is over? I don't know what your plans are. It better be to retire if you don't support Trump. Look, here's the worst case scenario. So you support Trump. You get up and you say, I'm giving the electors to Trump. I think he really won. I think there's been too much fraud. I think he really won. I think the whole election's been a sham. Whatever you say. And I think there's more than enough evidence, and people would, the Democrats are going to scream, but they scream about everything, so who cares? You have more than enough ammo to at least say, well, here, look at all these, news articles about the election. If you do that, you'll be a hero in the eyes of the Trump supporters. There'll be no question they'll vote for you in 2024. No question. It'll be like, oh, it's Pence's turn. Pence's turn. Pence came through for us. Now, it's likely the Democrats and the rhinos will impeach you both. Yeah, that's a huge possibility. But there's a lot of upshots to that. Number one, while they're impeaching Trump, Biden won't be president. And neither will Kamala Harris. They'll both be sent to the dustbin of history where they cannot ascend to the presidential. Well, maybe Kamala could in the future, but Joe is out. Joe is a compromised Chinese asset at this point. If you don't believe that, well, then you haven't looked at the Hunter laptop stuff. It's really bad. It's really bad. And I'm sure Mike Pence has looked at it. And if he hasn't, why not? So, yeah, to the Trump supporters, you will be a hero. You will be their guy in 2024. No question. No question. Now, you could do a more politician type thing and be like, well, I would really like to give you these electors, Donald Trump, but I don't feel that's right. But I also don't feel it's right to give it to Biden because there's been some shenanigans here. I think that the most ethical thing to do would be to throw it to the states and have a contingent election, in which case Trump would probably win. I say probably because there are a lot of rhinos, but I think that would probably be the most fair, and that would probably prevent you from being impeached. I don't know about Trump, but definitely you. They would not impeach you on that because that would be legal, even if it wouldn't be particularly popular. And, they would have to think twice about impeaching Trump because then you would be the president. And it would be like rewarding you for doing something they hated. So I don't know if they would. Of course, I think you would probably have enough time to appoint another vice president, so you could probably still get another Trumpian Republican in the mix. And even if that happened, if you had this weird situation where it's like Trump gets impeached, then they immediately go to impeaching Pence, and then Pence, he's already appointed another vice president, and then they go to impeach him, and it just keeps going on and on and on. I think the Trump supporters would be very happy with that. Well, not happy, but they would laugh and support everybody who lined up and got themselves impeached. And look, at some point, the Democrats would just run out of gas. I think they're going to run out of gas. I don't even think they'd impeach Trump, quite frankly. I think they'd try. I think you'd get a lot of rhinos on board. But ultimately, I don't think they'd do it. Maybe they'd go for you. Maybe they'd go right for you and impeach you before Trump. I think they could do that. I'm not sure of the rules. I think they could impeach you. Trump would have your back. Trump couldn't stop the impeachment. They'd probably be successful. But, again, Trump would be, and the Trump fans would be forever grateful. And you would be the guy in 2024. No question. No question you would deserve the vote. Because you stood up and helped Trump and helped the Republic from Biden. Any scenario in which Biden doesn't become president, you win. So, if you count the votes for Biden, you might as well have voted for him. You might as well be his VP. Because no Trump supporter will ever vote for you again. This will be the headline. You will be just as dead to the GOP voters as McConnell is. He's done. The GOP guys won't vote. I mean, he barely won this time. It was a little closer this time, I believe. I believe his Senate race was a lot closer. I don't know. But he's going to be in trouble next time around. The Trump supporters probably not going to vote for him. Although, look, the guy did accomplish a lot from a GOP perspective. And from his perspective, he's just looking out for the GOP. But I'll tell you, the Trump fans don't like him now. And I would point to Fox's ratings as a guide to what's going to happen to you if you abandon Trump. Lucky for McConnell, ratings aren't a problem for him at the moment. However, if you look at Newsmax TV, predicts overtaking Fox, says IPO is now possible. Yeah, that's how bad it's going for Fox. Newsmax is on its way up, and they just bashed Trump over something. They're now in trouble. You'll be one of these Lindsey Graham Republicans, which, Lindsey Graham, not too popular amongst the Trump supporters. I think he was the one who had the squeaker of an election. He's probably doomed the next time around, especially if the Democrats are running the show. Why would they vote for him? I guess because he loves war so much, he'll vote for any war. They might throw him in. Maybe at the last moment, he'll finally come out of the closet, and then the Democrats will be like, well, we can't get rid of a gay Republican. And this pork barrel politics you guys are doing, people aren't a fan of this. We want Trump to veto it, just like the defense bill. But the one upshot of all this, of course, is here's Ilhan Omar. She blasts fellow squad member Ocasio-Cortez for taking beer virus vaccine, calling it shameful. They will eat their own. It always happens. It always happens. And it's already begun, the slow demoralization of the United States. Well, I shouldn't call it slow at this point, but ICE funding decreased by $107 million in fiscal year 2021 appropriations bill. Yep, they're going to open the borders, Mike. And who's going to vote for you? A lot of people from these other countries, they're not going to vote for you. Nah. Because the Democrats are going to tell them, you hate them. You hate them, Mike, as far as the Democrats are concerned. You'll be tarred and feathered over and over again by these people. They're not your friend. Handing them this victory won't save you. Won't save your career. Your only shot is to defend Trump. Defend Trump. Hope he manages to stay in for 4 years, because either way, you'll be our guy in 2024. Trump is going to veto this defense bill. I think he should. I think he should veto this and the stimulus bill. He probably won't veto the stimulus bill, but the defense bill, I think he's going to veto it simply because he said he would, and he usually kind of does that, but we'll see. Maybe at the last minute he'll come up with some excuse, but I kind of doubt it. There's no reason for him to vote for either of these bills. Might as well just say no to both. let Congress work through Christmas. F them. Who cares? We don't care. We hate Congress. Have you ever seen the stats for Congress? So, you got a choice here. You can vote for Biden and retire peacefully and hope that, the millionaire tax doesn't catch up with you when Ocasio-Cortez is running on her second term. Or you could stand up for Trump, for the new GOP, and draw a line in the sand against these cheaters. They cheated, Mike. They did. I mean, you probably know better than us. You've probably seen even more evidence. Don't let them get away with it. You're a religious guy. These people will say and do anything to win. You're not that way. It's time for you to make a stand. You're the only one that can do it at this point. You're the only guy who could save the second term of Trump, basically. SCOTUS, they're out to lunch. Half the Republican Party doesn't care. Most of the senators don't. It's like the Forum in Rome, the Senate in Rome. Augustus had amassed his troops outside of Rome, and Cicero cut a deal to save the Republic. But the senators screwed him. And at the last minute they said, well, Augustus wouldn't dare come across a Rubicon. How'd that work out? Not so good. So, you could just let China roll over us, or you could fight. You could fight. The worst case scenario is they impeach you. And then you come back in 2024 and win the whole thing. It's a worst case scenario. They impeach you and the Republicans just keep coming. Or, you run out of good Republicans and then you end up with the rhinos. But either way, we'll still vote for you in 2024. If you don't defend Trump, we won't defend you. That's it. It's as simple as that. So, do what you gotta. I say defend Trump.